It is the final word, Sri Lanka Australia Daily. Adam Collins, Bharat Sundaresan with you for cbasuper.com.au. Get your super sorted out in 2025. We'll tell you more about them later. Baz, tell us about a most eventful day 3 in 30 seconds to begin.
Well, Sri Lanka started strongly. Prabhat Jayasuriya finally showing why he's the king of Galle. Started running through Australia. 5 wickets for him again. Australia were bowled out 157 ahead. And you thought, well, could Sri Lanka make a match of it? They didn't start too brightly. Then Angelo Matthews and Kusal Mendis showed faith, showed some fight. And it looked like maybe Sri Lanka will push Australia. And maybe they will have to bat again. They do have to bat again. But I don't think they'll have to bat too long because the collapse came towards the end. Sri Lanka have two wickets more left, and Australia maybe have 2 more hours to go before they wrap up the series.
Yeah, it was a most eventful last half an hour. Australia picked up 3 wickets. Matthews to Lyon, the old adversaries, those two have been duking it out since Nathan Lyon's first day in Test cricket here in 2011, where he picked up Matthews in that 5-wicket bag. Ramesh out to Webster, second ball. Webster, his second ball, sixth ball rather, of off spin in Test cricket, and then nearly got a second in Prabhat Jayasuriya first ball. Didn't quite come to pass. However, Matt Kuhnemann got Prabhat with the final ball of the day. So 211 for 8, leads 54, 4 for Kuhnemann, 3 for Lyon. Earlier in the day, Jayasuriya wrapped up his 9th 5-wicket bag in 10 Test matches at Galle, which is quite absurd, really. He's got 79 wickets, I think, now at this venue, but it wasn't enough. Even though 4 of the 5 that he got in that innings were today, even though they took a 7 for 64 run to finish the Australian innings, 157 ahead on the first innings at the halfway mark, it was always going to require something huge from Sri Lanka. It wasn't just about holding on, it was about could they score at a decent clip, could they put pressure on Australia, and there was that moment either side of tee with Matthews and especially Kusal, who was going it better than a run of ball. It did feel like there was an opening to make some pretty tired Australian bowlers bowling across 3 days in this Test match hurt a little bit, but that's where Matthews made that error, which opened things up, which means the result tomorrow seems a formality.
Yeah, every time Sri Lanka have put on a partnership throughout this series, and it's felt like maybe they'll be able to turn the corner. Either Australia get a wicket or they find a way of getting out. And that's been the trend throughout the 2 Test matches here in Galle. We saw it in the first innings as well, and we definitely saw it here. They didn't start well. And at that point, we thought maybe Australia could not just wrap it up today, they could well wrap it up in one session.
Yeah.
Because when Kuhnemann went through Pathum Nissanka's defences, and then Dinesh Chandimal was caught very sharply at mid-off by Beau Webster before or after Dimuth Karunaratne's Test career officially came to an end with bat in hand. Anyway, he will come out to field at some point. Matthew Kuhnemann, the bowler, again, it felt like it was going to derail very quickly, which is where Angelo Matthews got together. Cummins Mendis hung around with him for a while. Dhananjay De Silva hung around him with him for a while. But then, Dhananjay De Silva goes to that excellent, extraordinary catch from Steve Smith. Cummins Mendis to another false shot of Nathan Lyon, which went straight to Usman Khawaja. But then you're right. I mean, that partnership, and it was also during that partnership that Sri Lanka went past or took the lead for the first time in this series of any form, and you felt like, okay, from now the clock starts or the clock starts ticking, doesn't it? Like, so the scoring was quick, and you felt like if they could push this partnership up to or the lead up to 100 with these two still in there, they could really put some pressure on Australia tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, well, look, if Australia are chasing 140 and Jayasuriya is turning it square, I mean, they still might chase 140, I hasten to add. I mean, the lead's 54. Kusal Mendis would need to play an absolute blinder with Nishan Perez to make that possible. But, 140 odd, 4th innings, pitch that's deteriorating, Jayasuriya having found his way into the Test match in the first innings. That's not a bad combination from where Sri Lanka were 157 behind on the first innings. However, that was snuffed out. And really, if you look at it objectively and zooming out, it was snuffed out early on. What they needed was one of Nissanka or Karunaratne or Chandimal or Kamindu to have a real presence here. They couldn't rely on one partnership. It needed to be like it was in 2022 when they batted once and batted big. There were 6 or 7 of them who made a contribution and batted around Chandimal. The issue here was that, again, Kuhnemann bowling in his first over, I think the 3rd time in the series with a new ball, he's picked up a wicket in the first over. He went bang bang with Nissanka initially going through him with a straight one. Then Karunaratne, the little outside edge, only 2 people really heard it, Kuhnemann and umpire Wilson. Of course, you criticise Joel when he gets it wrong, like we do any umpire, and he's had a lot of decisions overturned in this Test match, but he got that one bang on. Then Chandimal was out early in line spell as well, caught by Beau Webster sharply at mid-off, which wasn't a great shot, and Kamindu was even worse. Not getting to the pitch, not able to resist, and Lyon was placed to Khawaja at mid-off just before the tea break, I think it was from memory. And the body language of Angelo Matthews at that point stood out to me. He was fucking furious with Kamindu. He threw his head back, he was gesticulating. It didn't get picked up by the cameras, but we were on radio at the time. He was going for it, because you just get the sense that with Matthews, he's like, I'm not allowing the team I used to lead and I've played for with distinction for 118 Test matches get rissoled inside 3 days by an innings. I'm not letting that happen. And that was reflective of the partnership that he then put on with Kusal Mendis, which makes it all the more disappointing that they broke it down when they did, because had they not, if you and I are talking and they're sort of 5 down, I acknowledge that Dhananjaya is out after tea as well, a great catch from Smith, but especially with Matthews and Kusal, who's the man with the hot hand right now, having made an unbeaten 85 in the first dig. It may well be we're on our way to a classic here, but that's all been all but snuffed out now.
And it was an interesting start to Angelo Matthews' innings, because he looked like he was throwing his bat at everything. He was just jumping at outside his crease, at times not knowing what he was going to do. And a couple of times he skied balls just away from the fielders, and that happened within the first 5 or 6 balls he faced in his innings. And I was a little worried about Angelo Matthews and his future, the way he was batting. And this is right after Karunaratne had got the big ovation from the Australians, which is a lovely moment as he walked off for the one final time as a Test batter. But then you wondered, well, what is Angelo trying to do here? But then he settled down, he buckled down, and once he got some flow going, and I think that is why he was so annoyed with Kamindu Mendis, because that was it wasn't a long partnership, it was a brief partnership where he found his flow. And it felt like Kamindu and the record he brought with him to the series, maybe this is going to be the partnership that settles things first, and then you have the attacking batters in Dhananjaya De Silva and Kusal Mendis to come and further Sri Lanka's total. But that wasn't to be, and that's why I think he threw his head back and was disappointed. To his credit, he held his nerve and he continued on, put on another short partnership with Dhananjaya De Silva before that great catch, number 198, wasn't it?
198. So he's only behind, I think, 4 players in Test cricket: Callis, Root, Dravid. There's one other in there as well, but I mean, you get the idea. He's now within... Mahela, of course, Mahela. You get the idea. So Smith, I mean, it wasn't as important or necessarily as spectacular as the catch he took at indoor a couple of years ago to get rid of Chiteshwar Pujara, but it had a similar vibe to it, the way that he had to thrust forward, and it was the captain Dhananjaya as well who got 23 either side of tee. So I mean, there was an important moment there, and that gave Kuhnemann a 3rd wicket. And look, the way in which Kuhnemann was brought back for that final over, Steve Smith perennially has the Midas touch as captain in Asia. We saw that at indoor and Ahmedabad last year. When Smith makes bowling changes, they just come true. And so it proved with Beau Webster, getting a go, getting a wicket in the first over, nearly making it 2. And then Kuhnemann brought back for the final over, unexpectedly too.
Don't forget Travis Head in the first innings.
Indeed, yes.
He got rid of Kamindu Mendis.
3 on the first day.
He was there. And no, he just does have that touch. And Beau Webster, well, we were wondering if he will get to bowl off spin at all in this series. And Steve Smith was asked about Beau Webster's bowling before this Test, and he said, I'm going to go to Travis Head first. And he did go to Travis Head very early today, bowled the 4th over in that 2nd innings. But just when, and this happens just in the over after Angelo Matthews has got out. So you wonder, Kuhnemann's tiring at the other end. Does he go to Stark? Does he go to Head again? And then out of nowhere, he throws Big Beau Webster the ball.
I was going to be bereft had it not happened as well. That's the other thing. Like all series, we've been waiting to see. At one stage, I found myself singing on radio, all we are saying is go give Beau a chance.
Nice.
Give Peace a chance. And look, he gets that chance. And I'm not saying that he's going to take 100 wickets for Australia. It's probably never going to happen. Well, he'll take a lot bowling seam up. But just having the ability to be in the rotation and having the faith of Smith at that moment, that felt important in his fledgling Test career.
And in that moment, with that first ball, before he even took the wicket, he turned into the 2020s Colin Miller, right? I know there was Andrew Simons who bowled medium pace and spin across format, but you always associate that with Colin Miller. Don't you? Now he has to colour his hair the electric blue, and then he already has the stud. He already wears that big stud on his ears. True. So, well, that's just one step closer to being Colin Miller.
Yeah, sort of the reverse funky. It's kind of the reverse Tony Gregg. It's probably what Ollie Robinson should be. a finger spinner based on what we saw at Adelaide Oval a couple of years ago, when he looks far more dynamic as a finger spinner than he did as a seamer in Australia. Don't get cross. It's just a thing. It doesn't matter. Don't get angry if you're in England. It's okay. We know cricket's not a big deal in England. We know that people get very angry when we criticise the England team. It's no biggie. It's just the way things are.
You guys should criticise him as well. By the way. You should be with us on our side.
I'm convinced it's different there.
It is different there.
Cricket's such a tiny sport.
It is. That's correct. Yeah. We will have that chat later on this year we'll be only talking about England.
I can't wait for the guys with football flags in their profile photos who watch cricket for 3 weeks, 3 months every 4 years.
Yeah.
It's going to be brilliant.
Oh, I can't wait. But, Beau Webster had to wait a while to get his chance with off spin. Gets the wicket, bowls one more over, and is about to take his cap off to bowl the third over, which would have been the last one for the day. Then Steve Smith has this late change of mind. He walks up to him and says, no, I want to give Kuhnemann the ball again, because Prabhat Jayasuriya was also on strike, first ball of the over. And another Midas touch moment for him. First ball, 199th catch for Steve Smith, and I said on radio, master stroke number 1,000 for Steve Smith in this series.
How about Kuhnemann? Just to back over something Nathan Lyon said to you and I when we were interviewing him before for radio. I think we've probably not talked enough about how much discomfort Kuhnemann's in. I interviewed him for telly after play as well, and so I shook his hand, and that's a big old brace he's got on there. It's not really a brace; it's more tape, of course. You can't wear a brace, but still, I felt almost anxious touching his right hand, you know what I mean? The fact that he's going out there having to think about that, I know the ball won't hit his right thumb too often, but that just playing on his mind all day I know it's his left arm, his bowling arm, his left hand, his bowling hand, but carrying an injury that's substantial into a test series, like the psychological challenge of that day in, day out, knowing that he could be called upon to catch a ball at any moment in a test match, that's another layer of why he's been so impressive, leading the series wicket takers 16 it must be like 14 and a half or something after that wicket final ball of the day, and no one's happier about that than Nathan Lyon, and I don't think that's him with faux modesty as sometimes you get from Nathan. He is genuinely pumped that they've got a guy who they can partner with him maybe as soon as the Caribbean this year. More often than not, Australia have 2 spinners in the mix in the Caribbean. I know they didn't in 2015, but that's a long time ago now. Different circumstances leading into an Ashes as well. So, I don't anticipate Kuhnemann being able to bang the door down for the World Test Championship final, nor do I expect he'll have a sniff to play in the Ashes. But away from home, and with that build to 2027, which increasingly has that final frontier energy about it, in the way that it did when Steve Waugh was leading this Australian team, when they went to Sri Lanka early in 2004 and won here, and used that as the vault up to beat India later that year. I know there's a longer gap this time, but that Border Gavaskar Trophy, winning it in India, they've only won in India twice, in 1969 and in 2004, the aforementioned series. This generation now, we spoke last night about the distinct possibility that Smith will go. You throw Lyon into the mix, never been better. A strong through line on the final word for years has been old spinners. Well, Nathan Lyon is almost by definition an old spinner now, which often means they're at their most prolific. And who would doubt it with Lyon? Got that grey through the beard now as well, doesn't he? But having on the other side of his career, Kuhnemann, and someone with the experience of bowling in India in Todd Murphy, it's shaping up as a team that will be increasingly difficult to beat in India, which I'm surprised I'm saying that objectively, but it just feels like the vibes here are so good.
Oh, they are. And just on Kuhnemann with his hand, it's funny you brought up the handshake. I don't know whether he's made of steel or what, but because when I met him for that interview, 3 days before the first test, I wasn't sure which, I thought maybe I should go in for the left-handed handshake. He gave me the right hand and said, no, man, it's fine. Yeah. And then he gave me a proper handshake as he would have given you today. So he either has this great ability to battle through pain, or maybe he doesn't feel pain. Maybe he's one of those.
He said some comment to Nathan about, I'm a Queenslander, we don't feel
that's correct.
Some version of that, which is rather in keeping. So to wrap up the day, anything have we missed here, Baz? I think I've got the scorecard in front of me.
One thing though, what happened in the first session, Alex Carey making 156.
Highest score for a keeper in Asia, an Australian keeper in Asia.
How about that?
Bunch of statistical categories now. He's averaging like 50 in Asia, He's got more runs as a wicket-keeper than any other keeper since his Test debut,
Yes,
which
that's
is
correct.
not a bad one to pull out there. I know he's played more Test innings, but still, it's an emblem of him developing into a most dependable number 7, number 5 in this Test, and a career batting average now in the mid-30s. I think it's up to about 35 or 36, which is a significant uptick from where he was a couple of years ago.
And batting at 5 and 6, I think that averages, if I can do my mental math here, 46 plus 156 is 212. So that's what he
Take
averages
that.
when he bats
Yeah.
at 5 or 6. It's just only 2 innings, both in goal, but still. No, I think it's one of the rare opportunities you got to build a big partnership with a top order player, and he made the most of it. We spoke about the bromance between him and Steve Smith, but for him to finish as the top scorer as well, he batted well today, again going past 150. In the last few weeks, ever since Josh Inglis made the 100 last week, but even before that, ever since Josh Inglis became a part of the Test squad, there have been, there's been people who have said, he's just Alex Carey is on notice. He's just 2 failures away from losing his place in the side. We have to fit Inglis in, but the way Alex Carey has batted now, and then when you think back to what he's done, and Nathan said that as well downstairs to us, in the last 12 or so months, the 98 in Christchurch, vital knocks against India, and even if you want to go back to the 2023 Ashes, the World Test Championship final knock,
In both innings there too.
In both innings there, Edgbaston, Lords, he played really well, and then obviously fell away in that series. But there have been so many vital contributions, but he needed that one statement piece, and I think that's what he delivered here.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So the other notes of the Australian innings today, shit shot from Cooper Connolly on Test debut, which you'll be livid about. Probably won't get a chance to play Test cricket for a little while now. Maybe in the Windies, but that's okay. This is all about investing in someone for Generation Next, and they saw the chance this week. Inglis got a second bowler to Jayasuriya, having spent a long time with Padrash. And the lower order didn't contribute an awful lot apart from Beau Webster, who got
Webster was
31
good,
quite
wasn't he?
important runs, I felt. Yeah, just at the point where that lead was probably still in double digits, and he got them up to eventually 157, which gave them that extra scoreboard pressure to work with. Baz, let's take a break. On the other side, you know what, on the way to the break, CBUS Super, 8.87%. 8.87%. It's big numbers. Big numbers. Average return across their 4 decades in operation. A superannuation fund that invests in projects that build Australia as well. Their past performance isn't a reliable indicator of future performance, but boy, we love being associated with CBUS Super and the work they do across the country. Back in a moment. Basilenko, this is the final word. It's the final word daily, Sri Lanka Australia Daily, on the roof for the second last time because this Test match, one way or another, is going to finish tomorrow. Is this where I say I predict a tie? No, I'm not going to do that. It's not going to be a tie. Australia going to win comfortably. I spoke to you yesterday about the last couple of days about super insurance and about how Maurice Blackburn Lawyers, who we're in partnership with throughout the summer of 24-25, complete the paperwork, necessary help, all the complicated forms and lodge on your behalf. Once that's looked after, they look after further requests from the insurer and deal with legal questions that might arise. Having their legal experts in your corner definitely helps with that process and the outcome. A reminder that they're Australia's largest plaintiff super insurance practice, so they work to get you the best possible results. And the affordability question here, yes, the no-win, no-fee arrangement means you only pay legal fees if and when you win, and the fees are always clearly explained at the start of the process. So Maurice Blackburn Super Insurance, to find out more, Google it. Contact Maurice Blackburn today. That is in our show notes. More about super insurance through the month of February on the podcast. Our Hall of Fame is the final word moment of the day. Baz, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first and buy you some time?
No, I have two, both courtesy the stump mic. The first one you would really enjoy. I don't know whether you were on TV or radio or whether you heard it, but this is when Dhananjay De Silva had just walked out to bat and joined Angelo Matthews, and Travis Head was bowling, and Angelo just pushes one towards the covers. They come for 2, and Angelo wanted the third. He was I think in the 30s at that point. He wanted the third run. Dhananjay, who's 4 years younger than Angelo, I'm going to say, was fresh at the crease. Yeah, and the rest, and fresh at the crease, says no. And then Manas just tells Angelo, "Oh, you're 39 and you wanted the third run and he did not." A, he's not 39, but that was clever from Manas, just reminding Angelo of him being old.
How about Marnus referring to the ham and cheese pizza on a length outside the off stump?
Yeah.
It was the generous interpretation from Bryce McGain on radio was that the rough looked like a ham and pineapple pizza. The way I heard it from Marnus was that he was trying to imply that Big Ange wouldn't mind a ham and pineapple pizza at that time. Both might be true at the same time. Sorry if I'm besmirching you, Marnus, there, or indeed Angelo. Tommy Miles, dear friend of the pod, who's doing a great job with Pete Lawler and with Gideon on Cricket at Albert, doing their score sheets on there too. Love Tommy's score sheets. I'm glad that they're getting recognised to a wider audience than just the final word. He noticed, as he does with his eagle eye, sitting over in the municipal stand there, that Sri Lanka had a champion sign out, which was down there. And when they were losing wickets at the start of that middle session, at one point they were 3 for 39. They started dismantling the champion sign and taking it out the back, which I suppose spoke volumes about how they, the prospect they had of winning this series. Beau Webster, his chase to the rope when he was bowling.
Oh, yes.
A ball went straight back past him. He went all the way back, herring after it to save one run. I always admire that kind of dedication from Big Beau, the big slug.
From Snug.
From Snug. Got to get that bit out as well.
Did you hear Manas referring to Beau Webster as Snug? Which I was very confused by.
Right. Just cutting to the car chase there. And last but not least, Mitch Starc. We've seen it many times. If you want to get a job done, do it yourself. Mitch Starc, when he came back onto bowl in the middle session or final session, got the hammer out to do the footmarks himself. And he loves doing it. He doesn't trust anyone but himself to do it. I understand it. I've got 2 barbers and I won't let anyone but them touch my hair. Kizzy in Melbourne, Artie in Highgate, they're my people. If you want to be a barber and you want to touch my hair and you're not those 2 people, you've got no chance. Starc, same thing. You want to touch that pitch, you've got to get the hammer out of his hand.
Also gives me an opportunity to go. Love you, Sequoia. I'll be there. I think I have an appointment with you on February 19th. Best hairstylist in the world. Young Sequoia.
Yeah, they can duke it out. Kizzy, who's hosted the final word in her barbershop before, Kenneth Jeffrey Barbershop on Smith Street, or Artie, who is the boss there at Highgate Barbers. I don't know why we're giving free plugs, but it's because I love them and I trust them and I feel like they're such a big part of my world, given I've got the best hair inside the M25. I don't like to talk about my hair. You can talk about my hair. But Sequoia, she was 19, Colo. I was just her first official client. I mean, really?
You know, the client, she was an intern at that point, and she was given the license to have her own personal client. I was number 1. She was 19. By 22, she was running that shop.
I love that
That's
stuff.
Sequoia for you. I have one more final one. Again, Stump Mike. The litany of monikers and nicknames for Matthew Kuhnemann. You spoke about Hino yesterday.
Yeah.
Today I heard Manas go Kuna Matata. And like I think Steve Smith then very late in the day started calling him Heineken. So Heineken, Hino, Kuna Matata. I don't know which one.
And I like how they've moved on with Nathan Lyon as well. It's now bowling Gareth.
Gareth, yeah.
Not just Nathan Gaddy Lyon, the ornament of the game, but Gareth Lyon, which, why not?
Wow.
Happy to go with it. Right, it's getting dark here, so probably time for you and me to call it a night. We'll have another daily show tomorrow, then I'll go back to London, then Jeff and I will pick up our normal rhythm and we'll be back with daily shows at the Champions Trophy as well. That's something I can confirm. And if you want to support stuff like this, by the way, we're more than creeping. We've got one more day to catch. I should have said this off the top. Should have said it off the top. Sorry, Jeff. We are a big chance of getting Morley tomorrow. As in we're like within 20 or something. We're within 20 or something like that. Be number 800. Don't wait. Do it now, because that means we have the ability to, pay people to make the pod with us when they're in Pakistan covering the Champions Trophy. Can I announce it? Fuck it, I can announce it. Andrew Fidel-Fernando, Daniel Rasul from Cricinfo as well. Both of them great Cricinfo writers who've been on the podcast many times. And Daniel Norcross will be out there with the Beeb. They'll be the 3 helming the show. Cameron Ponsonby in London as well. Champions Trophy Daily is coming every single day from whenever that tournament starts.
And wherever it is played.
And wherever it's being played. I'll be having some time with my kids. But in order to keep doing that, we've got to pay them. And that all is why we need our Patreon people. And that's not the only reason, because we fucking love them. Our Discord community. A whole bunch of our Discord community have been here watching the cricket, playing cricket with us. A couple of patrons came up to me today when I was doing a lap. It's terrific. It's wonderful. Thank you, Alistair, who came up as well and said g'day when I was at the front of commentary today too.
Beautiful.
All this stuff's tip-top. So come and join us. Be number 800. You be Morley to us. That's it for us. Maurice Blackburn Lawyers, CBUS Super, our patron crew. We thank you all. Good night from Galle for the second last time.